Welcome to EPG Pathshala. Hello friends, I am Dr. Geeta Sachdeva, Assistant Professor, National Institute of Technology, Kurukshetra. The topic which I am going to cover today is really very important to understand human beings, behavior of human beings at workplace. So module name is Understanding Human Behavior. After the completion of this module, students will be able to understand the personal factors affecting individual behavior. They will come to know the environmental factors affecting individual behavior. They will understand organizational factors affecting individual behavior. Apart from these factors, they will be able to know the different models of men. Now, first of all, why we need to understand the behavior of individuals. As organizations are made of individuals and every individual is unlike from each other. The behavior of every individual is influenced by numerous aspects. Each individual has specific purpose, motivations, observations and capabilities. So, to comprehend the human behavior in organization in an improved way, a vigilant study of all the factors which affect human behavior is necessary. Each organization wishes to acquire maximum probable efforts and assistance from its employees. The efforts and assistances of human beings are contingent upon their behavior. Therefore, it is really significant for organizers to recognize how individuals perform. Individual behavior means how an employee or individual behaves, responds or replies in a certain environment. So, the factors which influence the human behavior are personal, environmental and organization itself. So, individual behavior is a function of person, environment and the organization. So, now brief description of all these factors. First is personal factors. The personal factors which affect the individual behavior can be categorized in two groups. Number one category is biographical factors. Number two category is learned factors. Yes, first category of personal factor is biographical factors. All the human beings have certain features which are hereditary in nature and are inborn. These are the talents which the individual are born with. These are features which cannot be altered. At the maximum, they can be polished to some level. If the managers recognize about the inborn qualities and limitations of the individual, they can use their organizational behavior methods more efficiently. All these features are clarified as first biographical factor is physical characteristics. Some of these characteristics are connected to our height, skin, appearance, vision, form, size of nose, weight, etc. All these have an influence on the performance of persons. It is sometimes supposed that I deceive the character of the being. Likewise, certain thoughts about the behavior can be shaped on the basis of whether the person is overweight, tall or slim. Sometimes it is believed that tall or slim person are probable to dress well and perform in a cultured manner, and overweight people are supposed to be a cheerful nature. Whether there is an association between body structure and behavior has not been logically proven. Even if there is an association between these two, it is very hard to comprehend which independent variable is and which dependent variable is. Second biographical factor is age. Age is considered to be hereditary characteristics because it is decided by the date of birth. The association between age and job performance is subject of growing performance. Psychologically, younger people are probable to be more active, pioneering, adventurous and determined and risk-taking, while old people are supposed to be conventional, set in their own methods and less flexible. However, it is improper to generalize that all old people are inadaptable. Physiologically, performance rests on age. Performance drops with progression of age because older people have less energies, remembrance, memories and etc. Younger people are probable to change jobs to benefit better job opportunities, but as one matures, the probabilities of this living job are less. There is connection between age and absence also. Older people inclined to absent more from their jobs due to inevitable reasons. For example, maybe poor health, while younger people absent themselves from job due to preventable reasons like going for holiday. However, there is no clear-cut differentiation between young age and old age, but according to Lehman, who is a very famous author, the highest of creative ability is between the age of 30 and 40. Next biographical factor is gender. Being a male or female is hereditary in nature and it is considered to be an inborn feature. Whether the woman does as well as in jobs as men do is a subject which has started a lot of debates, fallacies and thoughts. The traditional view was that man is tougher than women and women are extremely emotional than men. But these are some stereotyped groundless conventions. Research has verified that there are few, if any, significant differences between men and women that will affect their job performance. Gender has its influence on absenteeism. The propensity to refrain from work is more in females than in men because historically our society has placed some home and family responsibilities on the females. Next biographical factor is religion. However, there are no logical studies to verify it and we cannot generalize it, but religion and religion-based cultures play an imperative role in determining some facets of individual behavior, particularly those facets which concern ethic, beliefs and code of conduct. The religion also regulates attitude toward work and towards financial inducements. People who are extremely religious are supposed to have high moral values. For example, they are very authentic, they do not tell lies or talk ill of others. They are supposed to be satisfied. Next biographical factor is marital status. Still, there are not sufficient studies to draw any inferences as to whether there is any association between marital status and job performance. Research has constantly showed that as marriage levels and large responsibilities, to have a stable job becomes more valuable and significant. Married people have less absenteeism, less turnover and more job satisfaction as compared to the unmarried employees. Next biographical factor is experience. The influence of seniority on job performance is a matter which is subjected to a lot of misapprehensions and assumptions. Work experience is considered to be a good indicator of employee productivity. Research specifies that there is a positive relationship between seniority and job performance. Besides, study also indicate that a negative relationship between seniority and job performance. Next biographical factor is intelligence. Usually it is considered that intelligence is a hereditary quality. Some people are born intellectual and in other words, intellectual parents produce intellectual children. But practical experience has exposed that sometimes very intellectual parents have less intelligent children and sometimes normal parents have very intellectual children. Furthermore, intelligence can be improved with effort, hard work, appropriate environment and motivation. Intelligent people are normally not obstinate or stalwart, rather they are considered to be steady and expectable. Next biographical factor is ability. Ability states to the capacity or capability of a person to perform the numerous tasks in a job. It is the benchmark used to determine what a person can do. So till now, as we have seen that how biographical factors mold the behavior of individual at workplace. Yes, till now we have covered personal factors under which we covered biographical factors and learned factors. An individual is born with biographical characteristics which are difficult to change or modify. Thus, managers lay much stress on studying, learning and forecasting the learned characteristics. Some of these characteristics are as, first one is personality. It is as vibrant concept describing the growth and development of person's complete psychological system. Rather than looking at the parts of an individual, personality looks at some collective whole that is bigger than the sum of its parts. It usually states to as dominance, aggressiveness, persistence and other qualities reflected through an individual's behavior. Some personality characters like physical build, intellect are biological in nature, but most traits like patience, open-mindedness, extrovertness, etc. can be learned. People who are open-minded open to work out better in bargaining agreements than people who are narrow-minded. Likewise, people who are extroverts and outbound are more probable to successful as managers those who are introverts. Second learned factor is perception. It is a perspective by which one understands the situation. It is a procedure by which information enters our mind and is interpreted in order to give some utilitarian meaning to the world around us. Psychology utters that diverse people see and sense the same thing in a different way. For instance, if a new manager perceives an employee to be a job shirker, he will give him less significant jobs even though that employee is a very talented person. Third learned character is attitude. It is just like perception but with frame of reference. It is a propensity to act in a certain way, either favorably or unfavorably, regarding objects, people or events. For instance, if I say that I am pleased with my job, I am stating my attitude towards my job. An attitude might be demarcated as the way a person feels about something, maybe a person, place, thing, situation or an idea. It expresses a person's positive or negative feeling about some objects. Most of our attitude are such about which we are not aware. Fourth learned factor is values. Values signify basic belief that a precise mode of conduct is personality or socially desirable to an opposite mode of conduct. Values carry a person's ideas as what is right, what is good, what is desirable, etc. All of us have hierarchy of values that form our value system. This system is recognized by relative importance we allocate to some values like freedom, self-respect, honesty, obedience, equality and so on. Values are carefully entrenched in the people that these can be detected from their behavior. Individual values are influenced by the parents, teachers, friends and other external forces. Values differ from individual to individual because every individual learns in a diverse way and have diverse type of experiences. Second category of factor is environmental factors. The external environment is known to have a substantial influence on an individual behavior. A brief explanation of the external factors as first environmental factor is economic factor. Yes, the behavior of individual is affected to a great extent by the economic environment. A few economic factors which directly or indirectly influence the individual behavior are like employment level. The employment opportunities which are obtainable to the individuals go a long way in manipulating the individual behavior. If the job opportunities are very few, the individual will have to stick to a specific organization. Even though he does not have job satisfaction, he might or might not be faithful to the management, but he will continue in the organization for financial benefits only. Second economic factor is wage rates. The main contemplation of every employee who is working in the organization is his salaries. However, job satisfaction is very significant, but what a person will acquire in money terms is the main factor influencing the decision of a worker to stay in a specific organization or shift to another one which will pay more wages. Third economic factor is general economic environment. The employee who work in organizations which are severely affected by economic cycles are exposed to layoffs and cost cutting. For these employees, job security and steady income is the most significant factor. Last economic factor is technological development. Though technology is not an economic factor, but we contain in the economic factor because of the influence it has on the person's job opportunities. The technological development has made the job more intelligent and advanced. Some workers will be dislocated unless they are well armed to work on new machines. For those who pick up and apprise themselves with new technology, the job will be rewarding and challenging. So we have seen that how economic environment can affect the behavior of individual. Second environmental factor is socio-cultural factor. Social environment of an individual comprises his association with family members, friends, colleagues, supervisors and subordinates. The behavior of other people, not with the individual but in general, is also a part of his social environment. Likewise, individual has a cultural background which shapes his values and beliefs. Work ethics, achievement need, effort, reward, expectations and values are significant cultural factors having impact on individual behavior. Next environmental factor is political factor. Political environment of the nation would affect the specific behavior not directly but through some other causes. In a politically steady nation, there would be stable level of employment and high level of capital investment, whereas corporations are unwilling to invest great sum of money in a politically uneven country. Next environmental factor is legal environment. Rules and regulations are formal and written standards of behavior. Both rules and regulations are severally imposed by the legal system. Laws narrate to all the members of society. Observing the law willingly permits for expectedness of the individual behavior. So, in this environmental factors, we have seen that how different factors, whether that was economic factor, political factor, socio-cultural factor or legal environmental factors affect the individual behavior. Next category of factor affecting the individual behavior is organizational factor. Individual behavior is predisposed by varied range of organizational system and resources. These organizational factors are, first is like physical facilities. The physical environment at workplace is the planning of people and things so that it has an optimistic effect on people. Some of the aspects which affect individual behavior are noise level, heat, light, airing, sanitation, nature of job, office furnishing, etc. Next organizational factor is organizational structure and design. These are concerned with the method in which diverse departments in the business are set up. How are the lines of communication established amongst diverse level in the business? The behavior and performance of the employee is influenced by where that individual fit into the organizational hierarchy. Next one is leadership. The system of leadership is established by the management to offer direction, support, guidance and education to individuals. The human behavior is also influenced to a great level by the behavior of their seniors or leaders. Behavior of the leaders are more imperative than their qualities. Next is reward system. The behavior and performance of the person is also influenced by the reward system established by the business to reward their employees. So these were the factors affecting individual behavior at workplace. Next is really very important to understand the different models of men. A number of models of men have been set in terms of his basic nature, his behavior. A short explanation of few models is like, first model of man is rational economic men. From the organizational viewpoint, manager had for a long time observed their employees as rational beings who are mainly encouraged by money. They look at the economic men and rational men approach to recognize and forecast the human behavior. This model is grounded on classical organizational theory. The scientific management drive was grounded on the faith that by rationally elucidating the one finest way to things and presenting incentive to workers in the method of piece rates and bonuses, organizational productivity can be improved. McGregor assumptions of theory X mirror this model. The elementary assumption of the concept of rational economic men are like persons are encouraged mainly by economic incentives. They would do things which get them the utmost economic gain. Second assumption is, as the organization controls the economic incentives, human beings are basically inactive agents who are operated, encouraged and controlled by the organization. Next assumption is, the feeling of person are basically irrational and must be controlled to attain rationally and self-interest. Organization can and must be designed in such a way so as to neutralize and control people's feeling and thus their unpredictable traits. In this model, persons are encouraged to produce more by offering them with economic incentives. In this situation, there is no organization employee conflict because both parties are satisfying their needs concurrently. But there are some drawbacks of this model. First drawback is that as this model is grounded on the classical theory, it suffers from the inadequacies intrinsic in that theory and do not outfit the present day organization. The economic incentive can work till the man is not sensibly satisfied by the need of money. Next drawback is that it can be specified that entire assumption of rational economic men are not adequate in understanding and forecasting human behavior. Next model of man is that is social man. Supporter of this school reflected the worker as a social man. They acknowledge that man is the part of a social group and he is influenced by the social forces and gets satisfaction of the needs which are linked to the maintenance of a social relationship. Alton Mayo considered the concept of social men when he carried out Hawthorne studies during 1927 to 32. From the reports of this study, the succeeding assumption about human beings are: first assumption is human beings are essentially encouraged by social needs and all their efforts focus towards getting this gratification by maintaining a relationship with others. Next assumption of this was a human group is more reactive to the pressures and permission of a social group than to the incentives and controls of management. The quality of work to be done by employee is not determined by his physical capability or by the management but by the social norms. Normally, persons do not act or respond as individuals but as associates of a particular group. Informal leaders have an imperative role in setting and imposing the group norms. Management should change and establish work in such a method that it offers more belongingness not only in terms of interpersonal group relationship but also man's relationship with his job. Next model of man is organizational man. It is an addition of social men. It was announced by William White. He assumed that it is very significant for a person to be faithful to the organization and supportive with the fellow workers. Any individual who believes in this value system and action in this method is an organizational man. The basis of this idea is that every individual should sacrifice his distinctiveness for the sake of the group and the organization. Next model of man is the self-actuating man. The concept of self-actuating man is an additional extension of social man and the organizational man models. The social man concept accepts that creation of social group is the foundation of satisfaction for the persons, but as against the self-actuating man undertakes the man's intrinsic need is to use his competences and skills in such a means that he should have the gratification of creating certain things. The earlier models do not permit him to satisfy his self-actuating needs. Last model of man, that is complex man. It gives a real image of human behavior. All the earlier models make very simplistic assumptions about persons and their behavior. Researchers have demonstrated that these assumptions are not right because the initial model undertake that men would always behave as per the certain set of patterns. But research has showed that there are numerous complex variables which determine the human behavior. These variables are pretty erratic, so the human behavior which is grounded on this variable cannot trail as such pattern. Second is the behavior of the men can be understood and practiced in the given circumstances, contingent upon the assumptions made. But research has showed that even if cause-effect relationship is recognized between the variable and behavior, it is not easy to comprehend forecast the individual behavior because of the individual variances. It is not essential that everybody will behave accordingly. There are some assumptions of complex man model. First one is persons are not only complex but also extremely variable. However, their needs can be organized in a hierarchy, but this hierarchy is also not widespread. Diverse person may have diverse hierarchies. Persons are proficient of learning new motives through their organizational experiences. Person motivation in different organizations or different sub-part of the same organization might be dissimilar. Person can respond to numerous diverse kinds of managerial strategies. So these are some of the assumptions of complex men. However, to understand the man is quite complex. Human behavior is not as simple as expected in the preceding models. Henceforth, current thinking on the subject is to take an approach that different individuals have different needs and personality traits, and if there is an appropriate match between environment and these they operate in, functional behavior will arise. Some important points which can be pondered under this chapter. Biographical factor determines the individual behavior. Learned factors like personality, attitude and learning can affect the human behavior. Organizational and environmental factors play a very important role in changing the behavior of individual. There are many models of man which help in understanding their behavior. Thank you.